Right. In this session, we will discuss about the internal structure of dicot root. This topic is related to anatomy of flowering plants. Anatomy of flowering plants. Dicot root. So, in anatomy of dicot root consists of three main regions. First region is epidermis. Second region is cortex, third region is stele. The outermost covering part is called epidermis. Outermost part, this is the outermost part, epidermis. The middle portion is called cortex. This is the middle portion. This is cortex. The cortex is again differentiated into the three regions: hexodermis, general cortex, endodermis. Next, the innermost region is called stele. This is vascular system. In this stele region or vascular region, again differentiated into the pericycle, xylem, pericycle, xylem, phloem and medulla. So, these are main parts in the stele or vascular system. So, this is internal structure of the dicot root, the simple diagram of internal structure of the root. In this diagram, three main portions are there, main regions. First one is epidermis, second one is cortex, third one is stele region. Okay. So, each and every part we will discuss. We will discuss the each and every part. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Primary structure of dicot root. What is the example of dicot root? That is the helianthus. Dicot root is a helianthus. Helianthus shows the epidermis, cortex and stele region in the transverse section TS of dicot root. The first part in dicot root, that is epidermis. It is the outermost layer of the root. It consisting of tubular rectangular living cells without intercellular spaces. There is no any intercellular spaces between the epidermis. Next, each cell has vacuolated protoplast without chloroplast. Epidermis has either stomata nor surrounded by cuticle layer. Okay. Some of the cells epidermis are smaller and gives out tubular extension to increasing the area of absorption of root. Absorption of root, that is the main function of root. Okay. Such extensions are called root hairs, and cells forming these are called filiferous cells or trichoblast. This is the most important bit related to the epidermis in the dicot root. Okay. The extensions from the extension cells from the epidermis, that is called root hairs or filiferous cells or trichoblast. Such epidermis helps in the absorption of water. Okay, that is epiblemma, rhizodermis or filiferous layer. Okay. What is the main functions of epidermis? Epidermis helps in absorption of minerals, water from the soil and protecting inner tissues. Okay. So, this is the main part. It is outermost part of the TS of dicot root, the first portion, the first region in dicot root, epidermis. So, in this epidermis, you have to remember that is root hairs and filiferous cells or trichoblast. So what is the main purpose of the epidermis? It is a protecting layer, protecting inner tissues and absorption of water from the soil. Okay, so this is the main functions and what is the structure of the epidermis in dicot root. Second region in the TS of dicot root, cortex. It is present between epidermis and stele and more extensive than stele. This is the most important. It is the more extensive than stele. It is a parenchymatous and clearly divisible into the exodermis, and general cortex and endodermis. So cortex is the more extensive than stele. It is made up of parenchyma cells. It is differentiated into the exodermis, general cortex and endodermis. So what is the exodermis? It is the outermost region of cortex and consists of 2 to 3 layers of thick walled cells with suberization in the mature region. It is not suberized in the root A region. Okay. When epidermal layer is slotted off, it acts as a protective layer. It protects the absorbed water from the cortex. It is also important mechanical strength to the root. So what is the main purpose of exodermis? So exodermis is the outermost region of the cortex, and what is the main purpose? It protects the exit of absorbed water from the cortex. It is also important. It gives a mechanical strength to the root. That is the first region in the cortex. Next, second region in the cortex, that is a general cortex. It is present between the exodermis and hypodermis, that is exodermis and endodermis. In between the exodermis and endodermis, it is a multi-layered extensive parenchyma cells. With parenchyma cells, cortex is made up of parenchyma cells with prominent intracellular spaces are there. So there are many intracellular spaces are present between the parenchyma cells in the general cortex, and these cortex cells are oval in shape or spherical in shape. The cells have leucoplast and store the food materials mainly in the form of starch. It helps in the lateral conduction of minerals, water from the root hairs to xylem vessels of stele. That is the main functions of the general cortex. The main purpose is the general cortex is store the food materials. Why? Because these cells having that is leucoplast. The leucoplast is one type of plastids in the plant cell. Okay, so this is the general cortex. It is a second region in the cortex, right? Next, third region in the cortex, endodermis. This is the most important concept, endodermis. It is the innermost layer of cortex that encircle the stele. Stele means outer surface of the outermost layer of stele, that is endodermis. The endodermis is the innermost layer of the cortex. It has compactly arranged barrel shaped cells without intracellular spaces. That is the barrel shaped cells are tightly packed. They are tightly packed in layered endodermis. The lens-like thickening are observed on radial walls in a transverse section. The radial and transverse walls have lignosuberin. This is the most important bit in a NEET level or other competitive exams. Lignosuberin thickenings are present on the radial surface of the endodermis. That lignosuberin thickenings are called Casparian thickenings. Casparian thickenings. So Casparian thickenings are related to the endodermis in anatomy of dicot root. The radial and transverse walls have lignosuberin thickenings are called Casparian thickenings as a part of the primary wall in the form of ring. Since it has suberized walls, it acts as a barrier between cortex and steel for movement of the water. So the Casparian thickenings are made up of lignosuberin. They cannot allow the water. How can the water is transported from the root hairs to the cortex, cortex to endodermis, endodermis to the stellar region? In some portions of the endodermis, the passage cells are there. The passage cells, they do not have any Casparian thickening. Actually, the Casparian thickenings are they cannot allow the water, but in endodermis some cells having passage cells. Through the passage cells, the water is entering into the xylem cells. Okay, that is the main purpose, the main concept in the endodermis. Okay, but some of the cells of the endodermis present opposite to the xylem do not have Casparian thickenings and allow the free water of movement from cortex to xylem through its symplastic movement. Such specialized endodermis cells are called passage cells. The passage cells are absent in the maturation region of the root because all dermal cells develops Casparian thickenings. Okay, now, so this is the most important concept in the dicot root endodermis. So the mostly in other competitive exams or NEET exams, they are asking about Casparian thickenings. Casparian thickenings are related to the endodermis. Okay, next passage cells. Where is the passage cells? Into the xylem cells. Okay, so this is the endodermis. It is the innermost layer of the next third region in the dicot root, that is a stele. It is the central region of root with vascular tissue surrounded by endodermis. That is a stele, third region in the dicot root. It is smaller than cortex. It consists of pericycle, vascular bundles and medulla. Okay. In cortex is differentiated into the three regions: exodermis, general cortex and endodermis. The same way, that is the stele is also differentiated into the pericycle, vascular bundles and medulla. It is the outermost covering of stele. It is usually single celled in a thickness and has a compactly arranged, smaller in size, rectangular in shape, thin walled parenchyma cells with dividing ability. That is the most important concept. Pericycle cells they have ability to divide the cells. Okay, that is a pericycle. It is the outermost covering of stele. It is usually single layer, single celled in the thickness and has compactly arranged, smaller in size, rectangular in shape, thin-walled parenchyma kill. In the neat level, they are asking about the most important concept in pericycle. They have prominent nucleus and dense cytoplasm. It gives rise lateral roots in the maturation region. So lateral roots are origination from the pericycle. This is the most important concept. In endodermis, the endodermis cells having Casparian thickenings, and here pericycle, it gives rise to lateral roots in the maturation region. In woody dicots, it gives rise to complete cork cambium and a small amount of vascular cambium at the time of secondary growth. Okay. In the steel vascular bundle, these have separate strands of xylem and phloem arranged on different radii or jointed by ground tissue is called conjunctive parenchyma. Here the vascular bundles are separated. The phloem and xylem arranged on the different radii or jointed by ground tissue is called conjunctive parenchyma. They do not have any cambium between the xylem and phloem. Okay, na? In between the xylem and phloem, there is no any type of cambium is absent. That's why this type of vascular bundles are called closed vascular bundles. They any cambium between the xylem and phloem, that is called closed vascular bundle. Okay, that vascular bundles are separated. Xylem is separated and phloem is separated in the stellar region. Okay, the xylem and phloem are different radii or jointed by conjunctive parenchyma. So closed type of vascular bundles. Bundles in a described as a radial, separate and closed vascular bundles. Okay. So what are the characteristics of the vascular bundles in dicot root? Radial, separate, closed vascular bundles. Okay. Xylem is a centripetal xylem. The protoxylem is at the periphery is towards the epidermis and metaxylem towards the medulla. Hence this type of xylem is described as a exarch condition. What is the exarch? Means protoxylem is towards epidermis. Towards epidermis means that is the protoxylem is towards endodermis and general cortex next epidermis. So that is and metaxylem towards the medulla. Hence this type of xylem is called exarch condition. So this is the main characteristic features of vascular bundles in the dicot root.